C'est fin 2004, il y a plus de 6 ans, que Blizzard a lancé son MMORPG World of Warcraft. Un MMORPG, c'est un jeu de rôle en ligne massivement multijoueur, et WoW a dépassé tous les records dans ce secteur. Il compte aujourd'hui plus de 12 millions d'abonnés dans le monde. Pour garder ses abonnés, Blizzard ajoute régulièrement du contenu dans son jeu, sous la forme de patchs et d'extensions. Et après The Burning Crusade en 2007 et Wrath of the Lich King fin 2008, une nouvelle extension vient de sortir début décembre, World of Warcraft Cataclysm.
Deathwing, who's one of the dragon aspects, has been in deep hole for a long time, and he's been nursing his wounds because in the last Titanic battle he didn't fare so well, and he's been plotting his revenge on Azeroth. And so with this expansion, he emerges into the world, and his emergence just causes a lot of destruction to what we know as Azeroth, right? So the world is dramatically changed.
En pratique, le cataclysme et les actions d'Eldemort ont été l'occasion pour Blizzard de refaire les parties du jeu qu'ils avaient mis en ligne en 2004 avec leur savoir-faire d'aujourd'hui et de réorganiser un peu le monde, tout simplement.
A lot of the new players were definitely unhappy about the fact that they're coming in and the world seems very empty, right? Because there's a lot of players that are, they're running through Outland and they're going through Northrend, right? So the high-level content, high-level players, you don't see them as much in the old world. And so we decided that, well, why don't we do that? We can accomplish the best of both worlds. We can bring the high-level people back to the old world to get that feeling that they had before, and we can bring, the new players that feeling of fullness of the world, that it's vast, it's awesome, it's different.
In order to redo the whole world, we had to start by prioritizing things. We looked at, what are the areas that we thought could use the most work, which areas were playing okay, and how did we want the zone flow to work? So some zones have changed completely. We've touched everything, and some zones not as much. If they were good, or if they were higher up in the level flow, because we'll figure at some point you're going to Outland. Those zones didn't get touched as much.
Bien évidemment, il y a aussi du contenu pour les joueurs de haut niveau, qui peuvent maintenant progresser au-delà du niveau 80, jusqu'au niveau 85, où les attendront bien sûr de nouveaux raids.
For Cataclysm, we're actually releasing 4 raids at the start. For the last one, we did 1. And the raid philosophy's changed a little bit. The encounter team is doing slightly smaller spaces. We found that, spending your time running back after you die on an attempt isn't usually the best way to spend your time. So
You remember the death runs, too.
yeah, it's still a little bit of a problem, even in some of the lower level dungeons, but we're definitely taking some steps to address that.
There's a lot of new interesting things that we've been working with, right? I mean, just the guild achievement system and the guild leveling system. I mean, that was huge, right? And there was a lot of tech that we needed to do to support that once we figured out exactly what it is that we wanted to do. So it's just, for us, it's just constantly trying to, how do we evolve the game? How do we perfect the game? And how do we use technology to make it better? But at the same time, as it relates to stuff like graphics, how do we make it look better but not increase the minimum system requirements too much, right? Because we want to make World of Warcraft accessible to everybody, right? And not everybody has a cutting-edge, high-end computer, right?
We have made a lot of graphical improvements. The water system's changed. We pushed out the draw distance. There's, a sun shaft system that the programmers did. It looks, I think it's really beautiful.
Yeah, you'll see the shadows too.
Yeah. And we like to make sure that those things fit the style of the game and they don't change the look to the point where it doesn't feel like WoW anymore.
On trouve aussi de nouvelles races, les gobelins, cupides et rusés du côté de la Horde, et les worgen, des humains atteints de lycanthropie du côté de l'Alliance.
So I want to play both, right? Because I really like the Goblin kit, and I really like the fact that, like Horde a lot. But I also have a really interesting view on the Worgen, right? They're very, you've got that Van Helsing type of feeling to it. There's a lot of story behind how they became what they are. And I think that's really cool. And I love Silver Pine, and I love all of that area, right? So I want to play those, but I also want to play Goblin.
Mais 6 ans après, les joueurs commencent à bien, voire trop bien connaître les poncifs du MMORPG, comme les fameuses quêtes qui se résument à se débarrasser d'une douzaine d'ennemis. Blizzard a ici essayé d'insérer plus de variété dans le jeu.
I think a lot of it has to do with the technologies that's available to us, and a lot of it is also what we've heard from feedback from our customer base and feedback from our own developers, right? Because our developers play the game. So, yeah, I'm tired of the collection quests, I'm tired of the FedEx quest. Let's come up with something different. Let's come up with a different mechanic that we can use, and let's try it out. And then there's the iteration that happens. We put it in, we look at it, yeah, maybe we need a little more technology to be able to support this a little bit better. Or, yeah, this starts to feel good. Okay, let's add a little bit more of this. Let's extend the quest chain out a little bit longer. And it just goes and goes and goes until we feel that it's perfect.
Une des critiques de World of Warcraft ces dernières années était qu'il était peut-être un peu trop facile de manière générale. Avec Cataclysm, le jeu promet aussi d'être un peu plus difficile.
I don't know if you've played through the beta or played a little bit of the beta, but you'll start seeing that in the higher level zones, it's a little more challenging to play. You're going to really think about how you're going to approach it. So it adds a little bit more strategy to it, right? Before it was just like, I'm just going to plow through, I'm a paladin, I'm just going to, AoE everything to death, and I'm good, no problem. So that's changed a little bit, right?
Well, you use more of your abilities than you were using at the high end before. We found that players, could use just a few abilities and accomplish everything they needed to. So I think some of the balance changes, help let you take advantage of some of the tools that you weren't using before, like crowd control or, healing yourself and things like that.
D'après nos premières heures de jeu, le pari est réussi avec cette nouvelle extension. L'expérience acquise par les développeurs est bien mise à contribution et l'équipe est toujours motivée.
I've been on the World of Warcraft team for 9 years.
Mm-hmm. I've been on for 5.
Yeah, it's been a while, right? But the thing about WoW is that it's constantly evolving and it's constantly changing, right? And that's what makes it really cool, right? So the lore is so vast and there's so many cool things that we can do within it. It's like we're working on multiple games, right? I mean, one expansion is not the same as the next expansion. And we're always taking the lessons that we learned from the past one and applying them to the next one. We have some people from our teams that have moved on to other teams, right? They're on the Diablo 3 team, they're on the StarCraft 2 team. So they're free to go over and join other teams if they want. But a lot of them stay on World of Warcraft because it's amazing.
Les joueurs se sont précipités sur Cataclysm à sa sortie le 7 décembre et beaucoup d'entre eux ont déjà atteint le niveau 85. Mais comme d'habitude dans les MMORPG, c'est au niveau maximum que le véritable jeu commence, avec les raids et les modes héroïques. World of Warcraft ne semble pas près de céder sa place de numéro 1 du MMO.